straight after the Torah. Bezrat Hashem. Let's talk a little bit about Purim. It's coming up, Bezrat Hashem. When is it going to be Purim? On Thursday. Wednesday night starts, and Thursday. And in Yerushalayim, it's going to be on Friday, Shushan Purim, over there. So we're not going to do it that way. But anyway, we also have another day, which is like a holiday also, Shushan Purim. It's also for us a holiday. What does that mean? We don't say Tachanun, we don't say Bidui. So it's sort of a holiday for us as well. But the Ikar holiday is on Thursday for us. I want to talk a little bit about the issue of reading the Megillah, because this is the main mitzvah of Purim. The main mitzvah of Purim, say the Chazal, is to hear the Megillah. Why is that? Because we want to commemorate the miracle that Kadosh Baruch Hu did for us, So you got to hear the story. That's the whole point, right? You have to be thankful to Hashem. So if you don't hear the story, you don't know what happened, how are you going to be thankful, right? So that's what the Chazal said. You got to hear the Megillah. So the truth is, when the story of the Megillah happened, which was before Beit Sheni, right? The whole story there. In the middle of Beit Rishon and Beit Sheni, that's when it was. So there, what happened was the Chazal made a takana to read the Megillah one time on Purim. When is that? In the daytime. So why do we read also at night? So it says the Gemara, Masechet Megillah, because the Chazal also added another reading. Times of Gemara. They also made a takana to do another reading at night as well. So this way now we do at night and also in daytime. But there's a difference, right? The Ikar takana, the main takana was for the day. I'm sorry.
What the reason they say also in the night?
I'm sorry?
Why they say also in the night?
The Chazal made takana to also say it at night.
Yeah.
He added. Don't want this. Why? What's the reason why? Because if you don't do it at night, it's like, you're missing. Like, in other words, the night has no meaning. It loses its meaning. You know what I mean? 24 hours, you want to only read once, it's not going to have the same meaning when you do it twice. This way, everybody's going to, the whole point is Pirsume Nisa, we want to, mefarsen, we want to publicize as much as possible. The nest that Kadosh Baruch Hu made for us on Purim, He saved us from annihilation. So therefore, the Chazal said, read also at night, just to make it stronger. It makes the whole, accent it more. That's the idea, right? So that's why we read both at night and the daytime. So therefore, a person has to come both at night and daytime. By the way, there are some poskim, interesting, from the Sephardi, the Moroccan, they say in Morocco, they had a minhag like this. They said the women, only come one time. They come in the daytime, but they don't come at night. They had such a custom like this in Morocco, Why? Because they said, anyway, the Chazal really made the takana for the daytime. And the women are busy, so we'll leave them alone, But the truth is, that's not the halakha. The halakha is not like that. Halakha, it says that you have to also come at nighttime as well. So women have to hear both at night and the daytime. Why are women obligated to also come and hear this, right? They're not usually obligated to hear the Torah. So why do they have to do the Megillah? Because they also were part of the nest, right? They were saved also, right? We all were saved. So what difference does it make if you're a man or a woman, right? It's shayach, it's relevant to all of us, equally. There's no difference no discrimination between men and women. This is why the women have to come. So therefore, the women have to come, and hear the Megillah, just like everybody else. As we said, right, that what happens usually is that the women come for a woman's reading, because what happens is that they switch, first the woman guards the children, and the man goes, and then they switch, and the man guards the children, he babysits, and then the woman goes, because she can't take her children, sometimes with her, because they're going to make a lot of noise and make a problem, So that's what happens, So you have a woman's reading and a men's reading. That's usually the way it is, right? Otherwise, it's going to be hard to do for everybody. Okay, very good, we understand, right? But also, very important to understand one thing, that when you're hearing the Megillah, you have to hear it from a kosher Megillah. The Chazal made a takana like this. You cannot just hear it from some kind of a paper Megillah, some kind of paperback, art scroll, or Feldheim, things like this. This is not good. It has to be on parchment, it has to be on cloth. It has to be a real Megillah, kosher Megillah, and then you have to hear it from there. If you don't hear it from there, lo yatzai dechava, you didn't fulfill your obligation. By the way, there is a rule like this in halakha. It says like this, let's say the kahal, that he's in, let's say lo aleinu shem yinachem, right? He's in Ukraine, somewhere in the war, and there's no kosher Megillah there, right? Putin exploded all of them, right? He bombed everything, right? So there's nothing else left over there. No Megillot, there's nothing. So what do you do in a case like that? We read the Megillah from a non-kosher Megillah without a bracha, because we cannot bless. We cannot bless on a non-kosher Megillah. So we read it without a bracha, with a non-kosher Megillah. If there's no choice, what else can you do? That's the way it is. We do the best we can according to the situation. Right? That's the way. But you cannot bless, obviously. Okay. Very good. We understand that. Also, another thing, which is very important to understand regarding the reading the Megillah, is that when the Baal Koreh is reading the Megillah, so what happens is that everybody's listening, right? And he's reading, we're listening. So what does that mean? You shouldn't read with him, together. That's not a good idea to do that. Unless you have a kosher Megillah also. If you have a kosher Megillah, you can read with him together, no problem. As long as you know how to read, right? You know the pronunciation properly. You have to prepare that, right? How many times should a person read the Megillah before he comes and reads it? Baal Koreh? At least 3 times, right? This is the halakha. Halakha says, if you didn't read it 3 times, you shouldn't come and be Baal Koreh, It's not proper to, because you're going to make a lot of mistakes, People are going to make everybody crazy. 1,001 mistakes you're going to make, right? Who wants that, right? Be professional, This is not a game. So you prepare it, you come in, and you're ready to go, right? That's the idea. As we already mentioned right before, the Rabbi Akiva, he refused to read without preparing 3 times, even the Sefer Torah. Even though he knew everything by heart. What does it matter? For him, Sefer Torah is like the back of his hand, Nothing. But still, halakha says you have to be prepared 3 times. So that's the way it is. You have to do that. So here also for the Megillah, the same thing. A person should prepare properly. Don't come in, and just improvise, Yeah, I'll try to make it good, What do you mean try? What kind of thing is that, right? Make sure you got everything down. So we're being Yotzei Decholach from the Shliach Tzibur. So we can't read with him. Why? Because if you read with him, your Megillah is not kosher. So what's going to be is that you're not even going to hear him, and you're going to only hear yourself. We don't want that, right? So that's why we don't want you to read out loud. What we want you to do is look in the book, and go with him, with your finger, like this, line by line. Yeah, that's where he is. I'm following him. Follow the Baal Koreh, but don't read. Be quiet and listen to him, and don't make those stupid noises. Every time you hear Haman, this crazy stuff. What happens is that when you do this, the people cannot hear properly, This is not the proper time to do this kind of things, to be honest with you, I know that most of the Keilot, they do it, and it's minhag, whatever, but the truth is, in the good minyanim, in the professional minyanim, the Yirei Shamayim, they don't do nothing, they're quiet. What they do is in the end of the Megillah, when they finish, they finish the brachot, then they start to do, balagan, blah, 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 milchama, all kinds of things, all kinds of noises. That's when you do it. That's the best way to do it. If you really want to hear the Megillah properly, make sure you're not making noise. You're making noise. You're bothering people. What's the point of doing that? What you killed Haman with your foot? Okay, you killed him. Okay, very good. Very good. Don't be a child. It's kind of childish, to do this kind of thing. It's safe. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
You said that Rabbi Akiva doing this. Why they're
You're right, because it's a mistake, You know what it is? I'll tell you, Shalom. The problem is like this, with most Jews, God bless them, Jews are good people. They have good neshamot, everybody. As a general rule, Jews are good people. And they want to do the Ratzon of Hashem. They want to do the will of Hashem. But you know what bothers them? What prevents them from doing it? Because they don't have a Masorah. They didn't learn from a good Chacham. They know how to do things properly. But you don't have a Masorah, you didn't see the Gedolim, you didn't see the Gedolei Israel, how they do, So you don't know how to do yourself. This is the problem, So you do all kinds of things, you make up your own rules, and this is not good, So I can tell you, at the Minyan of Ma'an, nobody was doing nothing over there. No drums, no bass, no guitar, no nothing, right? Everything was quiet. That's the way it was. That's the way it should be. Because you have to listen to the Megillah, that's the whole point, right? You're not here to do music, to make some kind of a marching procession. You're here to hear the Megillah. It's not a game. So, okay, whatever. I don't want to go too crazy with you. But this is the way it is. So what happens is, right, that if they are making noise, so what do they have to do? The Chazan has to go and read it again. The pasuk, because the first time they didn't hear it. So he has to go back and do it again. It's okay. B'diavad, this is the way to do it. What can you do, right? There's no choice. It's okay. Yatzai Dichol. Right? That's the idea. But if he doesn't read it again, a lot of people, because of the banging, they're not going to hear what he says. This is no good, right? That's the whole point. So the truth is, there are several Rishonim. Why do I stress this? Because there are several Rishonim who say, when it comes to the Megillah, even if you didn't hear one word, lo yatzai dechovah. Can you imagine one word? That's very hard. Listen, it says in the Chazal, right? A Torah only telling Malchi Asheret. The Torah was not given to angels, What are we, angels? You know, that we have to hear every word? You know, it's hard to do that. So can you imagine, you know, like you have to hear every word and they're making noise. How are you going to do that, right? So the thing is that make sure, you know, that you're listening very carefully. And don't fall asleep. You know, sometimes what happens is that a person, you know, has his book, you know, and all of a sudden, you know, he starts to go like this. He's falling asleep.
That's why if you follow in with the kosher Megillah,
Yeah, this is the
you miss
best.
something.
Yeah.
You miss something, you can.
Yeah, this is the best. But you know what the problem is, Rabbi? A lot of people can't afford it. You know, it's so expensive. You know, like yeah, of course, yeah. This is the best way. This is the best way. You know, but the problem is, you know, now kosher Megillah, you can't even get it for less than $1,000. You know, so it's a lot of money. You know, it's like you're paying like for tefillin, you know, or even more. In Israel, you can get it cheaper. You know, maybe for $500, $600 you can get it over there. You know what I mean? Not today. Okay, yeah, he knows. Okay. One day it was like that. 10 years ago, right? Whatever. I don't know today what's going on. Maybe it's true what he's saying. I don't know. He knows. I guess he was there, right? Later than me. So that he knows what he's talking about. That's the thing, you know. So you can get something cheap. That's good, Baruch Hashem, you know, whatever. But not everybody has a Megillah. Most people don't have it. Let's face it, right? That's why we got to tell them what to do.
All those people that they don't have Megillah,
Yeah.
so they don't fulfill the mitzvah, yeah?
So no, we didn't say that. But what we're saying is that they have to be very careful, you know. Don't read with the Baal Koreh. Don't read together with him. Just look at the page. Look at the page. Look at the writing. Don't make noise. Don't talk. Right? And don't fall asleep. Right? If you fall asleep, boop, you know. That's it. Right? He missed 2 sentences. Right? And so the Maaseh, right? What do you have to do? You have to be careful. You know, try to hear everything. But the truth is, you know, sometimes it doesn't work out. What can you do? You know, as we said, we're not angels. You know. So then, what do you do? B'diavad. Let's say you missed something there. You know, and you know you missed it, right? So what do? So the truth is, you know, that here's the trick, right? The trick is like this. As the rabbi said, if your Megillah is kosher, you can just read it yourself and catch up to him. If you're fast enough to do that, right? Or just read it yourself all the way through until the end, you know, which you have to know how to read that. That's the thing, right? Not everybody knows how to do that. So again, right, we're not really, all of us, on that level. But the point is, right, let's say you missed it, you don't have a kosher Megillah, you missed something. So what do? Should you go now to another reading, right? Go to look for some place, you know, go to the Shtiblach, you know. They can have 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. How many places are you going to go, right? What are you going to do? You're going to go crazy like that, right? They're going to take you to the nut house, right? To the Bellevue, they're going to take you, you know, if you try to do that. So what do you do, Lama said? So the truth is, there's a trick. Let me tell you something, right? That even though, as we said, right, you need a kosher Megillah to be a Tzidkei Yehovah. But if a person doesn't have a kosher Megillah, there's a rule like this. You know, if he read less than half of the Megillah, miut, less than the rov, from a non-kosher Megillah, it's kosher. You understand? So therefore, if he missed just a few words, a few psukim, he can also read from his non-kosher Megillah and catch up with the Baal Koreh. If he's fast enough to do that, that's the thing, right? I don't know if he's fast enough. The Baal Koreh is usually very fast, you know? He's like a super train, bullet train, you know? So, if you can catch him, good luck to you, right? Chazak Baruch. If you can't catch him, Hashem Yerachem, right? What can we do, right? You do the best you can. But you got to try to do that if you can. Try to read fast and catch up to him, and then let him go from there. This is the way to do it, right? So what happens is that the minority of the Megillah you heard from a non-kosher Megillah, it's kosher. B'diavad, you fulfill your obligation. Because it goes according to the majority. You know, the majority has to be from a kosher Megillah, the Rov. This is the way it is, right? So this is the trick, right? If you want to try to do this, you know, not so easy to do it. So what's the best thing to do? Let me tell you something. You give some good advice. First of all, go to a place where the Baal Koreh is professional, you know? Don't go to somebody who's an amateur. You know, and I'm not going to name names, you know? This guy's good. I'm not going to give you names. If you want, I'll tell you in private, you know, some good people.
You can say my name.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one thing for sure, you know? When I go to the rabbi for Rosh Hashanah, he does the best shofar. I never heard him ring the Megillah. But the shofar by the rabbi is the best. That's for sure. It reminds me of Eretz Israel, you know? Oh, like the way he does it. Nice and clean and smooth.
Talking about
No,
me?
yeah. With your permission. Birshut Arab.
All the good things.
Okay. So that's why I usually, this year, the truth is, you know, I usually go downstairs to hear the rabbi. This year I wanted to try to do it myself, you know? So what I did was, I just blew the shofar at home myself. You know, and I did it for myself, you know, that's it. I wasn't able to come at the right time, whatever, there was some kind of thing. So I did it for myself, and that's it, right? That's the way it is. You can nothing better than doing it yourself. Okay, whatever. So the practice makes perfect, right? So that's the way to do it, right? When it comes to the Megillah, make sure you hear every word, and if you really bemet, you missed, some of it, and you were not able to make it up, you really have to go to another reading, if you can. If you can find another reading, you have to go. What can you do, This is the way it is. It's going to be a pain in the neck, but, you missed it, What can you do, right? Let's say a person came in late, and the balcony already started, Gawarda, like a bullet, he already started already, So you missed already like the 10 psukim, You're not going to catch him. So what are you going to do? You have to go to another reading. What can you do? Right? There's no way to make it up. Unless you're a very fast reader, you're a bullet. You're also a bullet like him. You're also a missile, like Putin's missiles, or whatever, or whatever those missiles over there. You have to be like that. Okay, so that's the way it goes with the Megillah. Also, another thing, you have to know about the Megillah, which is that it says in the Mishnah over there in Masechet Megillah, also in the Shulchan Aruch, what does that mean? If you read it in the wrong order, you didn't fulfill your obligation. So what does that mean? What that means is like this. Right? Let's say you read first the last chapter, and then you went to the first chapter, like this, crisscross. You crisscrossed everything. You didn't fulfill it. It has to be in the right order. So you can't do it that way. So what that means is like, let's say if you come late, to the reading, you can't say, I'll first read with the Bal Koreh, and then I'll read the beginning and the after. I cannot do that. Right? First Bereshit and then Zot HaBracha, right? That's the way it is. You cannot do the first Zot HaBracha and then Bereshit. It doesn't work like that. So you gotta make sure you do it in the right direction, in the right order. But there's also another halacha which says that if he read it and he stopped, for a while, took a rest, and then he continued like this, he stopped. Yatzai dechova, he pulls the obligation, So that's okay, b'diavad. If you stopped, several times, let's say, I don't know, you need to drink some water, you were thirsty, whatever it was, right? Or somebody called you, let's say, right? Somebody called you on the phone, and he says, hi, shalom, how are you? Chag Sameach. You're reading that, but you can still continue, if you did that. Somebody called you, right? And you said shalom. You shouldn't do that, but if you did, and you were reading yourself, you can still continue and finish it. So if you stop and go, that's okay, b'diavad. But in the wrong order, no good, right? That's the way it works. So you got to make sure that everything is kosher, right? So as we said, right? First of all, go to a reader who's professional. Why do I say that professional? Because that means he doesn't swallow the words. If you swallow your words, you're going to hear everything he says. He says this word, then the other word, he doesn't say, you can't hear nothing, Klapams, what is it? I don't know. He's swallowing his words. You shouldn't go to Balkore like that. Doesn't know how to read properly, Doesn't know how to read every word. He has to read every word, not to play games like that. You know what happens sometimes? There are some Balakore, I see, they're not so professional. So what happens is they start out, they start good. Everything is good, Wow, oh, beautiful, wow. And then in the end they get tired, So then all of a sudden they're swallowing words, and you can't hear them anymore, all the words. So this is what happens, they get distracted, they get tired. They have no energy. Why? Because they, you can't eat before the Megillah, right? There's a halacha like this. You cannot have a seudah. You can have a snack. You can have like a candy bar or something, no problem. Snickers, whatever, I don't know, whatever it is you eat, right? You can have a candy bar, a little, something, a little snack, a little rice or something. You can eat a little bit. But you cannot have like a seudah, with the mezonot, like more than kabetzah, more than 50 grams. You cannot have. Right? It's called a seudah already. So why? Because we're afraid, that if he's going to eat seudah, he's going to miss it, right? He's going to, the Bal Koreh will start, and he's sitting over there, outside, eating, pechenyev, mezonot, What happened to you? You lost your Megillah, right? For pechenyev, for mezonot, right? Not good. That's why we don't want you to do that, right? That's the idea. So make sure that, right, you don't eat too much before. A little bit you can eat. Why? Because if you have no energy, the problem is sometimes you fall asleep. Or this is not good. So, some people, they come there. There are some people, some rabbis in this neighborhood, who are, a little bit too much, they're a little bit too fanatical. So, what they tell people, right? They say, it says in the Kabbalah, you shouldn't eat nothing, before the Megillah. Like, don't even taste anything, They tell their kehillah like this, Don't eat nothing. Don't taste nothing. So what happens is that, yatzas charo be'efsedo. They lose more than they gain. Because they go according to Kabbalah, Instead of telling them the halakha. Kabbalah is for Hasidim, for people who are tzaddikim, Admorim and, Babot, this kind. It's not for everybody, it's Kabbalah, you know what I mean? So what happens is that they go too far, and then they lose more than they gain. Why? Because then they tell them, don't taste nothing, don't eat nothing. And what happens is then they fall asleep, or whatever, something like that, right? They have no energy. So they're not able to read it properly, whatever, So don't go, that's what it says, right? Al tehit tzaddik arbeh, right? It says in the Shlomo Melech, right? Don't be too much of a tzaddik, you know what I mean? Just do the halakha. Do like the Shulchan Aruch says, you'll be good. Don't try to be more than Shulchan Aruch. Don't be mekubal. We're not mekubalim, believe me. We're not over here mekubalim. If you think you're mekubal, we'll take you to the hospital, They have to check out your brains. Because we're not here mekubalim. Nobody's mekubal over here. That's the way it is, right? If you think you are, you got a problem. You don't know what you are, you don't know who you are. You know what I mean? So know yourself, know your place. That's the thing, right? Make sure you understand who you are and what you are. Don't go too far. Sometimes, when you go too far, that's why the Chazal said, right, in the Pirkei Avot, they said, En ha'aretz chasid. You know what that means? Am ha'aretz cannot be chasid. What's the reason why? Because he doesn't know how to be chasid. To know how to be chasid, you have to be a big chacham, You have to know when you gain, when you lose, right? When you're going to lose more, you're going to gain more. You got to make the cheshbon, every time you do chasidut. Make sure you gain more than you lose. Otherwise, you're going to lose more than you gain, and then it's going to come out bad. Sometimes a person, I'll give you an example, right? Like a very, very simple example. Sometimes a person, says, yeah, I'll stay up all night and I'll learn Torah, all night, and I won't sleep, and then I'll pray shachrit, and that's it, right? And then I'll do whatever I have to do, right? I'll go to sleep later. So sometimes what happens is that he wants to be chassid, and stay up all night, like amikubalim, and what happens is that he falls asleep during shachrit, and instead of when he's wearing tefillin, his head goes like this, dawar deba, and he doesn't even say Kriyat Shema, right? The kid even say Kriyat Shema because he didn't sleep. So a person has to know himself, don't push yourself too far. There's a story, from the Chafetz Chaim, that he says something interesting, the Chafetz Chaim. He says about himself. What happened was that he says, there was a time in my life I pushed myself a little bit too far. What does that mean? I was trying to learn, without sleeping. Like going crazy, like going mad for learning. No sleeping, no nothing, So he says in the end, what happened? He says, I got sick, because of this. I was helped you. He didn't guard himself. What happens is that when you get too weak sometimes, your immune system gives up. And you get, so even the Chafetz Chaim, he admitted that he went too far. You know what I mean? Sometimes a person can go a little bit too far. Don't go too far. Just to be normal. Being normal. There was one Chacham, in this generation, Rav Shach, he used to say to the Talmidim, in Panovich, over there in the yeshiva, he used to tell them like this, He used to tell them, eat good, sleep good, and learn good, That's what he used to tell them. What does that mean? Don't try to be some kind of crazy guy, I won't sleep, I won't eat, I'll just learn all day, It's not going to work. You're trying to move ahead of yourself. You have to know what you are. That's the thing, right? You also have to eat something. You got to eat a meal. You have to have a seudah to do something, right? You got to eat. Okay, whatever. Everybody has to know himself. Okay, still we have like 5 more minutes because it's not even shkia yet, right? We're praying too early. The mincha is really too early. Hashem should help us to move it to the right time. The reason, by the way, I tell you this is like this. What's the problem? The problem is that when you pray too early mincha, what happens is that you're saying arvit too early. Then it comes out like this, right? So what's the problem with saying arvit too early? The problem is that, first of all, if you say it before Shkia, before the sun goes down, it's not like Bediavad, you're not doing it at the right time. It's like Bediavad. The truth is, in the summer we do it, In the summer we do it like that because we have no choice, because people cannot stay late like that. They don't want to be here at 10 o'clock at night, if we're doing Arvit. It's too late for them. They want to go home and eat and sleep, whatever. So we give them a break in the summer. The custom is, the minhag is, in the summer we do Arvit early, before the sun goes down. But at this time of year, there's no reason to do that. You know what I mean? There's nothing like, there's no dochak. There's nothing pushing you. So therefore, a person, what should he do? Should say arbit at the right time, which is after shkia. But also, besides that, right, the thing is like this, Let me try to explain to you something. What happens is that we do mincha, we do the divrei Torah, and then we do arbit, right? That's the way we do it. So here's the thing. There's several reasons why we do divrei Torah, between mincha and arbit. Several reasons. One is because we want to do arbit at night. So we want to wait till Tzit Kochavim, according to the Geonim, you know? So like we want to wait like at least 15 minutes, 20 minutes after the sun goes down. It's already Tzit Kochavim according to the Geonim. So therefore we're going to say Kriyat Shema at the right time. This is the whole thing, you know? This is why we do it this way. So we say Divrei Torah. The whole point is, you know, to push it back a little bit, and then Arvit is also going to be at the right time. So everything is going to be good. You go home, right? You already did the mitzvah Kriyat Shema, Baruch Hashem. Otherwise, what happens is if you say Arvit too early, right, before Tzit Kochavim, you have to say Kriyat Shema again when you go home. You know, you're not allowed to, you know, all kinds of things like this. So you're getting into a, you know, a little bit. Not everybody remembers this, by the way. You know, a lot of people they go home and they don't remember to say Kriyat Shema again. So what happens is, according to most of the Rishonim, they're not Yotzei Yedei Chovah. They're not fulfilling their obligation like that. There are some Rishonim that say you are, you know, but it's a minority opinion, you know. So why would you want to rely on a minority opinion? That's why, you know, the custom of all the Sephardi Kehilot, you know, in everywhere, in Eretz Israel, outside, always like this, you know. Everywhere you go, this is what you see. The Mincha is done 20 minutes before Shkia, about 20 minutes, you know. And then we say Divrei Torah for about 15, 20 minutes, and then we do Arvit. This is where everything is done at the right time. You know what I mean? Everything, Yatzai Decholba. You fulfill all your obligation. Whatever, right? And the Ashkenazim do even less, by the way. The Ashkenazim, what they do is they do like 10 minutes before Shkia. Mincha. Not 20 minutes like we do. You know why that is? Because the Ashkenazim, they don't do korbanot, right? They don't say korbanot before Mincha, like we do. They don't say kitoret. So they don't need as much time as we do. Also, you know, they do less other things as well, you know? Less, they don't do vidui, many of the Keilot and Ashkenazim. Hasidim they do. But the Bitaim they don't do vidui. You know? It's not obligation, it's only minhag, you know? We have a minhag to do vidui. But it doesn't say in the Talmud you have to do vidui for mincha. No such thing like that, you know? So they don't do it. You know, so that's why they don't need so much time. So the Ashkenazim they do 10 minutes before Shkia. They do mincha. If you go to the Ashkenazi Keilot, we do 20 minutes because we need more time. You know, but that's the way it is, right? So a person, you know, should uses, you know, right? Chacham ena berosho, right? You have to think about this, what you're doing and how this is working out and what it's causing. You know what I mean? Don't just do things, you know, haphazard. You know, okay, we'll do it this way. Yeah, doesn't work like that. You have to think about what you're doing. Right? That's why Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us a brain, you know, so we should use it. Kadosh Baruch Hu should help us, B'ezrat Hashem, to do Teshuvah Shlema and to go into Purim with Simcha. And going to Pesach with Hashem, Geulah Shlema. You know, I want to tell you one thing when we finish. There's a midrash I saw, you know, in the midrash Rabbi, something amazing. You know what it says? I know the rabbi is going to argue with me about this, but there's an answer for everything. I'll tell you what it is. There's an answer. There's no machlok about this. We both have the same thing. It says in the midrash like this. Okay, it says that just like the Geulah from Mitzrayim happened Leil Pesach, right? The first night of Pesach, that's when it was. Leil Shimuim. It's a guarded night. Right? So Kadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Mitzrayim. He did the Geulah for us on the first night of Pesach. So the first night of Pesach is the night of Geulah. You know what I mean? So it says in Midrash, listen to this, amazing, right? It says that also in the Atid, Geulah Atid Lavo, the final Geulah, which is going to be redeemed for the third Bet HaMikdash, it's also going to be on Leil Pesach, it says. Can you imagine? Same night. Just like the first Geulah was on Leil Pesach, also the last Geulah is going to be also on Leil Pesach. And look what it says in Midrash. It says, if you see that you think that the Geulah is happening before that, before Leil Pesach, he says, you should know you're mistaken. Why? Because you have to wait till Leil Pesach, just like we have to wait Leil Pesach for the first Geulah, you also have to wait for the last Geulah. Now, the rabbi is going to tell me, I'm going to tell you what he's going to say, right? He's going to say, it can happen any day. Right? It can happen any day, the Geulah.
Let the Geulah happen now, and then we fix this midrash.
Right. So here's the thing, right? So he's right also. The Geulah can happen any night. You know what I mean? So why am I telling you that the midrash says only on Leil Pesach is going to be? So the answer is, right, Beitu Achishena, it says in the Pasuk, right? In the Navi. What does that mean? If they do Teshuvah, they can be redeemed anytime. Even tonight, right? Even tomorrow. But if they don't do Teshuvah, there's a final redemption, you know, date, which is Leil Pesach. That's what it is, you know?
Ultimate date.
Yeah, the ultimate date, exactly. That's what it is. So, depends on us, you know. You want to bring it now, do Teshuvah. If you don't want to bring it now, you're not in a hurry, wait till Leil Pesach. So Kadosh Baruch Hu should give us the Geulah Shlema B'ezrat Hashem. Leil Pesach, and even earlier, right, as the rabbi wants to say, right? ברוך ה' לעולם אמן אמן. רבי חנן, אתה שומע? בסוף הקדוש ברוך הוא סביב ישראל. ידיך דיבר אלוהים תורה ומצוות שמונה חפש למען צדקו יגדיל תורה וידי.
גדל והתקדש שמי רבה. מה יכול וביום יכול נפעל כל דבר העולם והתהדה והתעלה והתעלה של מקודשה ורבו ולא נגול לקראת הישיבה נכון לעם אמן ואמן על ישראל ועל תמיד יום כבוד הנדיב ישלום הרבה משמעי ולא יצא לנו כל עם ישראל ואמן ושלום ובנו